Thanks, Alexis. So, what my challenge statement here was, I taught our first year engineering bioengineering course for the first time this semester. We had over 100 students for the first time in the course, and I split them into, it was a total of 29 teams. And so it was the largest our first year course had ever been. But I want to give them opportunity to present their work to each other. And one of the primary goals of the course is for them to meet other students in their cohort. And so my goals were have all of the students engaged, take one less than 1 50-minute class period, and then have limited amount of printing. So as all of you can imagine who teach large courses, having 29 groups do traditional presentations to the rest of the class would have just been torture for everybody involved and taken up so much time. But I didn't want to completely get rid of presentation. So I tried 2 different things this past semester with mixed results. The first one was sort of like a work in progress presentation, sort of like lightning talks, and I had each team summarize the results that they had in their first project on one slide. And I printed those slides on 11 by 17 paper. And then the day they were going to do presentations, they came to class. And this is, full disclosure, somewhat modeled on the gallery walks from Keene, if anybody's familiar with the Keene things there. But I didn't want 100 students just aimlessly wandering around looking at posters or things in the gallery. I wanted a little bit more structure to that. So what I had them do is they were already assigned, because we work on the projects in class, each team was already assigned a table in the room. So they sat down at a table with their team, and I had them number off and split into 2 halves, an A and a B. And the A part of the team stayed at their table, and the B team rotated around. And so I gave them 6 minutes at each table. So the A part of one team presented their one slide to the B part, and then they switched for about 3 minutes each. And most of them did a little bit faster than that, so they had a little bit of time to discuss and compare. And then the B part got up and moved to another table. So they did a total of 3 presentations. So it took about half a class. Each team met about 5 other teams because of the 3 rotations. And everybody had a chance to present, because some teams had 4 people, some teams had 5. So with the 3 rotations, everybody had a chance to present their one slide at least once. The other thing that happened, I had a course staff of about 6 folks, a mix of grad and undergrad assistants, and plus myself. And so between the 6 of us, we were all able to also rotate around the room and make sure everybody was participating and help with the assessment and the grading of that overall presentation. That one actually worked remarkably well. I was really happy with how that one turned out. I had some observers from our Academy for Excellence in Engineering Education and some new faculty in there. They actually were also impressed at how things worked. That one worked really well. The room was big enough. There was structure to it. One of the things I did to help keep everybody on time, if you haven't figured it out, any kind of timer you want is available as a YouTube video with a nice siren at the end. And so for every 6-minute rotation, I'd have a 6-minute countdown timer up on the screen, so they kind of had a feel for how their 6 minutes were going. Then for the last presentation, I wanted a little bit more of a longer formal presentation. So I moved us into one of our active learning classrooms. And for here at the University of Illinois, what that means for us is we have a bunch of TV screens on the wall that you can connect to individually. And so I had them in pods of 3 teams, and then they could stand by the TV screen and present a longer, more formal presentation to the other 2 teams. That one had and then they were going to rotate and present. That one did not go as well as I had expected. I planned too many rotations for the time we had. And we were right at capacity of the room and maybe slightly over, but don't tell the fire marshal. So it was harder to move around in that room. Also technology problems. They were first-year students. For some of them, it was the first time they were trying to connect to one of the screens in this active learning classroom. So that took way longer than expected for them to get their presentation up on the screen. I think the concept was right. I think my implementation was a little bit too messy. In hindsight, I probably should have just had them sit in a group of 3 teams and just present to each other than trying to have them present to multiple teams. And the math didn't quite work out, especially with all of the technology interruptions and students arriving late because I switched rooms on them, and all of the logistics things that you could think going wrong with a class of over 100 first-year students went wrong that day. It was the last day of class. It was the winter in the Midwest. Fill in the blanks. So I think the concept is sound. Definitely needs some tweaks to implement it again. But overall, as far as achieving the goals, yes, all of the students were engaged in the presentations. All the students had a chance to present. With the 6 staff, we all had an opportunity to observe the students presenting and make sure they were engaged. I limited the amount of trees we killed by printing presentations because in the first room we didn't have the screens. And we did get all 29 teams to present within 1 class period instead of taking an entire week. So the high level goals were hit. Definitely need a little bit more modifications going forward, implementing at least the second one. So with that, I'm happy to discuss further or take any questions you guys have.